Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day today so far. So, right now, it is Friday, and I am taking a day off from work. I strained or pulled a muscle somehow. Well, not somehow. I know exactly how. My friend at work was popping my back while I was laying on the floor. And when she did at the top, I felt something. It hurt, but then it immediately kind of stopped hurting. But the day after, it was really bad, and today is even worse. So, I considered going and getting it checked out, but I mean, really, what can a doctor do about a strained or pulled muscle? I don't think it's any injury to a rib or anything like that, because it doesn't hurt to breathe or anything like that, just like if I cough real hard or I laugh real hard, and then also any type of movement. So, that's why I am here today. And I haven't done a podcast in a while, and I just haven't had the motivation. I'm sick and tired of the politics and the negativity of it, and every time you look at something, it just lets you know how bad our country has become, how corrupt and inept our government is, how evil that they can be, and it is just very, very overwhelming sometimes when you really dig into that. So I stopped, and today I thought, I'm going to try something different. I started reading a book the other day. It's called The History of the Bible in America. It's by Steve Green and Todd Hillard, and it's very interesting. I'm about halfway through with it, and it got me thinking about our forefathers and what inspired them to come to this land and establish the greatest country ever on earth. I have to say that. I believe that, truthfully. I still believe it's greater than any other country on earth, even though we're going to hell in a handbasket, very quickly. But I started thinking about that, and I was like, let's do something different. Let's take a look at our forefathers, and let's see what they thought. Let's read their writings, because we can't just say they thought this or they thought that, but they tell us, because we have their writings. And so I thought, let's check out the Federalist Papers. I've never read them. And with me being such a history buff, I'm surprised that I've never taken the time to actually read these. Now, there is a lot of Federalist Papers. So many. There is 85 Federalist Papers, okay? And a lot of them are written by Hamilton and Madison. So, in fact, I think they're all written by Hamilton and Madison. Most of them. So, I thought, let's do a series where we read the Federalist Papers together. So you don't have to read them. You can just listen to them being read to you. So we're going to start with number 1, the general introduction, and it was written by Alexander Hamilton. And it says, "To the people of the state of New York, after an unequivocal experience of the inefficiency of the subsisting federal government, you are called upon to deliberate on a new constitution for the United States of America. The subject speaks its own importance, comprehending in its consequences nothing less than the existence of the Union, the safety and welfare of the parts of which it is composed, the fate of an empire in many respects the most interesting in the world. It has been frequently remarked that it seems to have been reserved to the people of this country, by their conduct and example, to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from affection and choice, or whether they are forever destined to depend for their political constitutions on accident and force. If there be any truth in the remark, the crisis at which we are arrived may with propriety be regarded as the era in which that decision is to be made, and a wrong election of the part we shall act may, in this view, deserve to be considered as the general misfortune of mankind. This idea will add the inducements of philanthropy to those of patriotism, to heighten the solicitude with which all considerate and good men must feel for the event. Happy will it be if our choice should be directed by a judicious estimate of our true interests, unperplexed and unbiased by considerations not connected with the public good. But this is a thing more ardently to be wished than seriously to be expected. The plan offered to our deliberations affects too many particular interests, innovates upon too many local institutions, not to involve in its discussion of a variety of objects foreign to its merits, and of views, passions, and prejudices, little favorable to the discovery of truth. I mean, I'll tell you, most of that goes over my head. I don't understand most of what I just read, other than the people of New York need to come together because apparently man is just doomed to fail at establishing good government. Clearly. We've just been fortunate to establish the best one, but it's doomed to fail, right? So ours takes a little longer to fail because of the type of government we have. But reading it, I wish people talked like this still today. I will not ignore the fact that language evolves over time. But let me tell you something interesting really quickly. This is from the History of the Bible in America, if I can find it. And it's about Webster. You know, he wrote the dictionary. And what I think is interesting is whoever took over keeping up with Webster's dictionary and evolving the language in there, it's quite interesting that I bet you anything that you did not know that Merriam-Webster was a Christian. Honestly, tell me in the comments if you knew that he was a Christian, because I did not know that. Noah Webster had a major impact on American education. He was a legislator and a judge who worked with the founding fathers on the final wording of the Constitution. He did author numerous textbooks, and he helped found Amherst College, and he was given the honorific title, the Schoolmaster to America. So his dictionary defined 70,000 words, and 12,000 of those words had never appeared in another dictionary. And it took him 2 decades to complete the massive 2-volume work. He traveled extensively, becoming familiar with more than 20 languages, allowing him to trace the foreign roots of thousands of English words. Webster regularly used Bible quotes in his textbooks and dictionary. In defining man, for example, he quoted Genesis 1:26, Job 14:1, 1 Corinthians 10:13, and Matthew 4:4. These references were removed from Webster's dictionary after his death, but the Bible's influence on his life, his writings, and his views toward America cannot be erased. In his book, History of the United States, he states, quote, "The brief exposition of the Constitution of the United States will unfold to young persons the principles of Republican government. Our citizens should early understand that the genuine source of correct Republican principles is the Bible, particularly the New Testament." So, there you go. Now, I just wish we still talked the same way. Instead of dumbing down our words, I wish we could be more eloquent when we speak. Continuing on. Among the most formidable of the obstacles which the new Constitution will have to encounter may readily be distinguished the obvious interest of a certain class of men in every state to resist all changes which may hazard a diminution of the power, emolument, and consequence of the offices they hold under the state establishments, and the perverted ambition of another class of men who will either hope to aggrandize themselves by the confusions of their country, or will flatter themselves with fairer prospects of elevation from the subdivision of the empire into several partial confederacies than from its union under one government. It is not, however, my design to dwell upon observations of this nature. I am well aware that it would be disingenuous to resolve indiscriminately the opposition of any set of men merely because their situations might subject them to suspicion into interested or ambitious views. Candor will oblige us to admit that even such men may be actuated by upright intentions, and it cannot be doubted that much of the opposition which has made its appearance, or may hereafter make its appearance, will spring from sources, blameless at least, if not respectable, the honest errors of minds led astray by preconceived jealousies and fears. So numerous indeed, and so powerful are the causes which serve to give a false bias to the judgment, that we, upon many occasions, see wise and good men on the wrong as well as on the right side of questions of the first magnitude to society. This circumstance, if duly attended to, would furnish a lesson of moderation to those who are ever so much persuaded of their being in the right in any controversy. And a farther reason for caution in this respect might be drawn from the reflection that we are not always sure that those who advocate the truth are influenced by purer principles than their antagonists. Ambition, avarice, personal animosity, party opposition, and many other motives not more laudable than these are apt to operate as well upon those who support as those who oppose the right side of a question. Were there not even these inducements to moderation, and nothing could be more ill-judged than that intolerant spirit which has at all times characterized political parties. For in politics, as in religion, it is equally absurd to aim at making proselytes by fire and sword. Heresies in either can rarely be cured by persecution. And yet, however, just these sentiments will be allowed to be, we've already sufficient indications that it will happen in this as in all former cases of great national discussion. A torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. To judge from the conduct of the opposite parties, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to evince the justness of their opinions and to increase the number of their converts by their loudness of their declamations and the bitterness of their invectives. An enlightened zeal for the energy and efficiency of government will be stigmatized as the offspring of a temper fond of despotic power and hostile to the principles of liberty. An over-scrupulous jealousy of danger to the rights of the people, which is more commonly the fault of the head than of the heart, will be represented as mere pretense and artifice, the stale bait for popularity at the expense of the public good. It will be forgotten, on the one hand, that jealousy is the usual concomitant of love, in that the noble enthusiasm of liberty is apt to be infected with the spirit of narrow and illiberal distrust. On the other hand, it will be equally forgotten that the vigor of government is essential to the security of liberty, that in the contemplation of a sound and well-informed judgment, their interests can never be separated, and that a dangerous ambition more often lurks behind the specious mask of zeal for the rights of the people than under the forbidden appearance of zeal for the firmness and efficiency of government. History will teach us that the former has been found a much more certain road to the introduction of despotism than the latter, and that of those men who have overturned the liberties of republics, the greatest number have begun their career by paying an obsequious court to the people, commencing demagogues and ending tyrants. In the course of the preceding observations, I have had an eye, my fellow citizens, to putting you upon your guard against all attempts, from whatever quarter, to influence your decision in a matter of the utmost moment into your welfare, by any impressions other than those which may result from the evidence of truth. You will no doubt at the same time have collected from the general scope of them that they proceed from a source not unfriendly to the new Constitution. Yes, my countrymen, I own to you that, after having given it an attentive consideration, I am clearly of opinion it is your interest to adopt it. I am convinced that this is the safest appearance of I am convinced that this is the safest course for your liberty, your dignity, and your happiness. I affect not reserves which I do not fill. I will not amuse you with any appearance of deliberation when I have decided. I frankly acknowledge to you my convictions, and I will freely lay before you the reasons on which they are founded. The consciousness of good intentions disdains ambiguity. I shall not, however, multiply professions on this head. My motives must remain in the depository of my own breast. My arguments will be open to all, and may be judged of by all. They shall at least be offered a spirit which will not disgrace the cause of truth. I propose in a series of papers to discuss the following interesting particulars: the utility of the Union to your political prosperity, the efficiency of the present Confederation to preserve that Union, the necessity of a government at least equally energetic with the one proposed, to the attainment of this object, the conformity of the proposed Constitution to the true principles of republican government, its analogy to your own state constitution, and lastly, the additional security which its adoption will afford to the preservation of that species of government, to liberty, and to property. In the progress of this discussion, I shall endeavor to give a satisfactory answer to all the objections which shall have made their appearance that may seem to have any claim to your attention. It may perhaps be thought superfluous to offer arguments to prove the utility of the Union, a point no doubt deeply engraved on the hearts of the great body of the people in every state, and one which it may be imagined has no adversaries. But the fact is that we already hear it whispered in the private circles of those who oppose the new Constitution that the 13 states are of too great extent for any general system, and that we must of necessity resort to separate confederacies of distinct portions of the whole. This doctrine will, in all probability, be gradually propagated till it has votaries enough to countenance an open avowal of it. For nothing can be more evident to those who are able to take an enlarged view of the subject than the alternative of an adoption of the new Constitution or a dismemberment of the Union. It will therefore be of use to begin by examining the advantages of that Union, the certain evils, and the probable dangers to which every state will be exposed from its dissolution. This shall accordingly constitute the subject of my next address. So these are really, really long. Oh no, it just continues to the thing. Okay, so it says, Publius, the same idea, tracing the arguments to their consequences, is held out in several of the late publications against the new Constitution. All right, so there is Federalist Paper number 1. That's your introduction. I'm not going to read paper number 2 yet. I'm going to keep it short. We're going to read one Federalist paper each time until I have read them all. And I don't know if this is going to be once a week, maybe do twice a week so you can get 2 in a week done. But this is my new endeavor, is to read the Federalist Papers, get people to listen to it so that we can hear and we can understand our forefathers and their thought processes of creating such a great country, with the grace and mercy of God also driving that along as well. Let's not forget to remember that God is the driving force behind the fact that America was established and has remained a great country, a free country, as free as any country could be, even though we're losing a lot of that freedom today. So I hope you enjoyed doing this with me. I'm kind of excited to get back to recording. I really do miss it. I was just so tired of the negativity. So I hope you'll come along this journey with me and reading the Federalist Papers, learning a little bit more about our history, because I just don't think we know enough of it. I don't know what they were taught when my parents were in school or my grandparents. I know what I was taught in school, and as I've gotten older, I have realized that a lot of what I was taught in history is not correct. It's wrong. And it saddens me because I know what my kids are going to be learning in history is going to be more twisted than what I learned. And I want people to start really digging in deep and searching out the truth of our history for themselves instead of depending on these leftist radical institutions to tell you, because they are lying to you. So if you want to do that, then join me. You can go to my YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Share my videos. That would be great. I'm also on Rumble. You can go and share my videos there and subscribe there. You can find me on Instagram and you can find me on Twitter. I haven't been very active lately, but I want to start getting back into that. So please support me. And the ones of you that do, I greatly appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. I'm glad to be back here recording again. I can't wait to do this again next week or later on this week. Who knows, maybe I'll post one for Monday as well. So enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless.